a House Sylas Broadcasting.
Hello everyone, today is the 27th of Therendor, and it is a wonderfully beautiful day outside, a little bit on the drizzly side, but I'm not going to let that get me down.
Well, hopefully the contents of today's broadcasting will do that for you.
That's a little bit morbid.
Well, we've got some pretty dark news and real issues here in the city, and then we're going to have a special guest on to talk about things. So we had a lot of people write into us and say, hey, we're interested in Kubara and the lizard folk that you spoke with. Or we're interested in learning about the Kalishtar and the Quarry and the Dreaming Dark. And even a few people that said, hey, I'm interested in learning about House Madani and its inquisitives. So we decided, based on all of that information, that we were going to do a thing. And then management decided that today we're going to talk about Therendor elves, which completely relates to everything that has happened.
It's a very interesting culture that's very different from our own.
Have you ever met with Therendor elves?
I don't know.
You ever come face to face with elves in Valenar?
I don't know.
You ever fight them on the plains of the Talenta?
Sylas, you're getting a little bit serious.
You know, you're right. Let's go ahead and get into that wonderful little music, and then we can jump right into today's broadcasting of
A Chronicle of Echoes. Sylas, you said we had some depressing news. Why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Really? You're just going to have me lead into it? You're not going to, because it's going to be bad.
So you're going to say something really sad and depressing. And then I'm going to say something light, bright, and airy. And everybody's going to forget about the gross stuff you talked about.
Oh, okay. This bit of news comes from our friends at the Sharn Inquisitive. Over 1,000 protesters took to the streets of Sharn on Mull. They marched through the bazaar in Harris Folly. These protesters blocked key intersections and clashed with city guards. Additional troops were launched from Daggerwatch Garrison to address the disturbance. The Brelin Ledger at this time is reporting from all precincts in Sharn over 150 arrests. The rally was organized by a group known as the Blood of the Disappeared, a collective of parents and spouses of missing Braelish soldiers. Blood Counselor Mirena Takant spoke to the crowd at Markenny Plaza. She called for our government, from the crown on down, to do everything it can to negotiate for the remains of soldiers and any living soldiers still out there.
That makes a lot of sense. So, Carnath didn't just raise Carnathi dead. They also rose other people. And I think that it is entirely okay for the Blood of the Disappeared to want the remains of those soldiers back. And moreover, there were Braelish soldiers in Ciri when the morning happened. So there are definitely just bodies wasting away in the Mournland, not being interred.
But we have a problem here because Assistant War Minister Erneth Irchalis has said that the Crown welcomes any information with regard to these soldiers, but has, at this moment in time, received very little because other nations are afraid of revealing any of the activities that took place up until the end of the war here, because all of that constitutes military secrets. Now, I do need to note that Brayland has said at this moment in time, Braelish forces are unaware of any living prisoners from any other nations within their borders. It's a hard subject to tackle, and I don't know how it can be addressed effectively, but I'm delighted to see how you make people forget about the thousands of protesters in the streets, the arrests, the missing soldiers, and the desecration of bodies and memories.
Sheep.
No.
House Vidalis has recently bred a very interesting type of livestock. These are Sirenian sheep. These sheep are very, very light, which means that Sharn can now have more livestock in it. These sheep, on any given day, you just put them on a leash and you let them go, and they kind of stay in one area. They can wiggle their little tails, move their little feetsies, and they can move around a little bit, but they float in the air. When you're not in Sharn, they're still extremely light as well. And so this is actually a really good thing, because a lot of sheep have issues where the wool on their body gets too heavy, and it can cause a lot of issues because it retains a bunch of water, which can actually start to rot the skin underneath it. But these sheep, their wool can't do that at all, because it's too light, and the water just evaporates out of it really fast, and it's really, really lightweight. And so not only is the sheepies better for that, but then the wool makes a really, really good fabric as well. Also, listen to this. This is the best part. You can hire House Vidalis to herd the sheep past your window each night, so you can fall asleep counting sheep.
Oh, well, that does sound like an interesting way to fall asleep. I occasionally have had to have people cast a sleep spell on me to make sure I get a good rest. Yeah. But I think that is a nice story too. So we'll forget about all the horrible things that have happened, and instead...
Sylas, why do you have to make everything bad?
I'm here to read the news. It's what I do.
I'm here to read the news too, but I'm not a big old stick in the mud, and I don't always be everything is bad. Because you know what? Not everybody can handle that everything is bad. Sometimes they need a little bit of light in their life.
You're right. I have another one from the Sharn Inquisitive, and it ends in a surprising way. All right, Alufi, are you ready? We're going to hit that little bit of lighter news.
Just do it already.
Okay. The quarantine on Smoky Towers was finally lifted today, as the Sharn Watch has announced that the Silent Plague is not contagious. Black and Book investigators have yet to locate the source of this mysterious illness, which leaves its victims pale and rendered mute. Senior Inquisitive Karen Alandidor has stated the name is a misnomer, as it isn't a disease, but a curse. So far, 42 residents have come down with this strange affliction, including noted singers Marden Clabir, Jordran Defiarlin, Needles Norick, and Gransha Fleetfinger. The lifting of these quarantines does mean, however, that the Children's Charity Parade on Zul can keep its expected route, which is exciting for them. See, I told you it had a positive ending there at the end. Technically not a disease, and on top of that, Children's Parade.
Do you think it's the Broken Note Killer?
What?
The Broken Note.
Well, that's ridiculous. The Broken Note Killer is a murderer who kills people. This is not connected to that.
It's not uncommon for some serial killers to change their methods.
But what would he achieve in not killing people who do music? I feel like he had a very specific MO.
That's true, but maybe he's silencing them first, and then we'll be killing them.
Well, let me take a look here. Well, according to this, the Silent Plague isn't limited to entertainers, as Undro Balashk, special assistant to Kaskar Halovic, has the affliction. So that's someone not directly connected to music who has it.
Maybe they play music.
That's actually a good point. You know what? I hope that it's not the Broken Note Killer. Because, again, I think sensationalizing him and then giving him a special affliction just seems unnecessary.
I think I get it.
Oh, get what?
Why you're being so grumpy today.
Why is that?
Your date didn't go well, did it?
My date went fine and is not part of the news that we're here to talk about.
Tell me. Or rather, tell all of Sharn.
Do you think that somehow the date that I went on, that I was forced to go on, is newsworthy?
Yes.
For all of Sharn?
It was newsworthy last week.
I'm sure it wasn't. I had a lovely time with Miss Last Name Not Given, and it was enjoyable. She fed me cheeses and wine, but unfortunately we had to go our separate ways.
Why?
Well, I guess it just comes down to a difference of how we were raised. I am from here in Sharn, and she is lizard folk from Kubara.
Did you at least have a good time?
Oh, I had a fantastic time, and it was really nice. I enjoyed getting to meet the contestants. I didn't think I was going to enjoy the entire process, but I will say that the random contestants that were selected were much better than what it could have been.
You know, a lot of our listeners did send in notes to me personally. They were very mad at me.
Oh, go on.
They were very upset that I reserved a special spot for Kevin, but I didn't reserve a spot for a specific follower of the Silver Flame.
Whom?
Bishop Chantalyn Sarhain.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't make any sense. She's not from here in Sharn. She lives in, what is it, Sire? Nah, I don't think that type of long-distance dating would work well. That she's in the Flame, I'm in the Host. You know how it is.
A lot of people think that you guys would be good together.
Yes, and a lot of people think Thrackle Spice goes on breakfast.
I'm just saying.
For all of our listeners out there, you know what? I would be willing to play that game again sometime in the future if that's what our listeners want. I'm here for them and their enjoyment. And honestly, who's going to say no to a fine meal and all the drinks I can have after?
That kind of sounds fun.
You know what? If you think that we should instead take the time to help out Alufi, well, let us know.
I don't need help. I'm okay.
I think you do. The last 3 meals you've eaten have been here at the booth or with your father.
I mean, Dad's just like...
living on your couch. If anyone needs help, it's not the person who's, successfully been married.
Mom's just really mad at him right now because
it has been months. They need to work it out.
He went to the Lazar Principalities and she expected a souvenir, and the souvenir he brought back may or may not have been cursed. So,
Why would you purchase a souvenir? You know what? No. Nope, I'm not. Nope. No.
I mean, you don't purchase all of the souvenirs. Don't you ever, pick up a cool looking seashell and bring it back and give it to somebody as a souvenir? Because you're like, hey, I saw this seashell and I thought of you.
No, I do not do that. I've actually been part of a thing that they're doing now, which I really enjoy. You can go to different taverns and while you're in different cities and get little glasses with the name of the tavern or the city right on there. And that's what I enjoy doing. That's a great gift. That's a practical gift. What are you going to do with a shell?
It's pretty to look at.
Oh.
It made me think of you.
Well, again, the glass will do that. And you can drink out of it. I just want to say that no one has ever gotten cursed from something purchased at a tavern.
Watch the news, Silas. There's going to be a bunch of people buying stuff from taverns and they're going to be cursed.
Well, I hope that's not the case.
Highlights for next week, or 2 weeks from now, are going to be man cursed by shot glasses sold at local tavern.
Alufi, I think we should take the time to go over. Yeah, there we are. Let's go over Alufi's asks. So today we have 2 pieces to follow up with from previous listeners who've written in.
Ooh.
Yes, the first one here says, Dear Alufi.
That's me.
Thank you for believing. Thank you for believing in me, Miss Alufi. I will be the best wizard for you. Will you come to my birthday party? You can bring your mean friend if he promises to be nice. Meeps 2, please. Love, Aster, Baxter. And then, what is that? Is that giant? Is that...
Oh, that's Thieves' Cant. It says, my daughter oh, wait, hold on. I'm not going to read this out loud. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's so sweet. So this is the question that with Dad's an alchemist, Mom is
a rogue. Yes, I do remember.
Yeah. Yeah, of course I'm going to go to your birthday party.
And are you going to invite Meeps and myself?
Meeps, yes, but I don't know about you.
Well, instead of inviting me, maybe you can answer a question. Why do you know Thieves' Cant?
You don't?
No.
You grew up in Sharn, and you can't read Thieves' Cant.
No, I cannot.
How many times has your house been broken in?
Not.
No, look at me. How many times?
Related to what I do, or because
in general,
it's been a few, but most of the time they're there to. You know what? Continue.
So here's the thing. A lot of Thieves' Cant is specifically to relate information to one another in a visual manner. Like words. But so there's a symbol for this person goes out for lunch every day at noon and has lots of fun things to steal in their house. And there's another symbol for, hey, please don't steal from here, please. And then there's another symbol, there's a bunch of different symbols that mean things. And then there's also actual big words that you can write out using Thieves' Cant. And there's actually, I'm not going to tell where, because people should have to find it for themselves. But there is a walking path you can take in one of the districts in Upper Dura, not super far from my home, where there is Thieves' Cant hidden around the walking path that is an ongoing Conqueror game.
So they just write the moves of Conqueror as they do them?
Yeah.
Why not just play in person?
Because it's funner this way.
To hide them on a walking path.
Yeah, it's like an extra challenge.
How do they know which moves came when?
So it's linear. So you got the start of the path. There's a bunch of them, but at the end of the path, there isn't any at all.
Oh, okay.
So it's a big move if the next move is closer, is way far ahead. So you know that person's being cocky and is haha, I got you on the ropes.
Oh, well, that is interesting. I may have to look. You know what? Maybe we should go out to lunch, and we can see the walking path, and then you can come by my house and just. I have some architecture I'd like you to just take a look at.
Just some architecture?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little walk by on the outside of my house.
Okay.
Oh, good. I'm delighted. So let's go to the next Alufi's Ask, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that, Sylas.
Dear Alufi, thanks to your advice, I'm looking into replacing my spiked plating with a retractable version. However, I have another question for you. During the last war, I fought alongside goblin mercenaries and picked up the language and some of the mannerisms. Now, my friends are saying these mannerisms are inappropriate for polite society and could ruin our chances of getting a quest for a major house or noble family. Is it true and something I need to be worried about? Thanks, Grand.
So I'm going to call out a few things here. I don't think that we should use terms like polite society when talking about goblins and goblinoid creatures and really just anybody in general, because bugbears in particular, a lot of their culture is about being the biggest, being the most physically aggressive. And that is something that you would do even at, formal parties as a bugbear. You would be the biggest, most physically aggressive. And that can be anywhere from verbally saying really mean things in Goblin to other people about the integrity of your mother or things like that. And that's okay in bugbear culture. Now, coming to what we would call quote-unquote civilized culture or polite society, that's not okay. I don't think that it's okay to say that bugbears don't have polite society. I think that it's a cultural difference and something that we should honestly approach more in a positive light. Now, I think that you should probably keep the idea of when in Carnath do as the Carns do, which is kind of a way of saying when you're around people that aren't bugbears, that aren't goblinoids, try to emulate what they would say is appropriate within the confines of their social structure. For example, when you're a gnome in, say, Zalargo, you want to do your best not to stand out at all. You want to blend in, you want to be as conformist as possible, while still keeping your identity and being unique. Whereas if you are in, let's say, on Dare, with their polite society, you want to be bombastic, you want to be, you want everybody to look at you. That's what is expected in that society and in that culture. So when you're around bugbears, it could entirely not only save you, but also save your friends if you happen to insult the integrity of that really big-looking bugbear's mother, because that might make it so that you are the biggest, bird in the flock, and it makes it so that they respect you more. But I do think that there is a big problem with saying that specific cultures are lesser or less polite than others in our current society.
It is important to remember that when dealing with people who have certain expectations, it's best to play along with them and do as they ask. And I like to always remember a bit of old goblin advice that was given to me back in the day. Mm-hmm. And that is, ma bet.
You're not allowed to say that.
What? Is that I'm not allowed to say that? I was told that meant good luck. Ma bet. Yeah.
No, silence.
You're hearing it wrong. You have to be hearing it wrong. Ma.
Silence. We will return after these short messages.
And welcome back. Today, here in the booth, we have a special guest. We are delighted to have with us Bale Aresis, a Therendor elf from Valenar. Am I saying that right?
Therendor.
Oh, my apologies. Therendor. I'm so sorry. We are so thankful to have you here. And now it's coming through a little awkward because of the mask. And you know what? I'm not. That would be culturally insensitive. Please don't take it off. Please keep it on.
I wasn't planning on.
My apologies for even implying. So let's go into some questions today. We're here to learn about Valenar and the Therendor elves. So, Alufi.
Traditionally, the Therendor elves are from Eberron, and a lot of your people find yourself in Valenar now, and you rule Valenar now. How does that happen?
What do you mean, how did it happen? It's always been a part of our culture.
Culturally, as you've said, it may belong to your people, but before then it was property of Sire and frequented by the Talenta halflings, and you came in and have reasserted your control over that nation. Is that correct?
We just took back what was already ours, if that's what you're talking about. The idea that we own the land or that somebody owned the land previous to us is a little far-fetched, don't you think?
Well, no, I think that it was...
Ancestrally, it does belong to the Therendor. There was an elven culture that did reside there, and as her people do worship the spirits of the past, it only makes sense that they would be given that land once again. At least that's what the Treaty of Thornhold says.
That is true. The treaty has been decided, and that is the law of the land. But let me ask you: do you feel that there is more land out here in Corvair that should belong to the elves?
I think that it's not necessarily a space of land that needs to be owned, but maybe an achievement that I want to go for rather than a piece of property that I want to deed.
Oh, so then you think that you would have a claim on Sharn? How do you feel about that?
Sharn is a city that has changed hands many times. There is a very good possibility that in the future, my people shall hold Sharn in theirs.
Well, I think that's a little...
Sylas. Valenar is known for their horses, and Valenar horses are really pretty and cool.
So the thing about the Valenar war horses that makes them special is they too hold our ancestors in their heart and are chosen by an ancestor, not just us warriors. Our horses are held in a higher esteem than the mere horses that come from House Vadalis.
I will say that I've seen a Valenar steed up close, and they are superior to the mage-bred horses of House Vadalis. That is something that they do have going for them.
I like them because they're pink.
I've seen them in different colors. Aren't they always pink?
I've seen pink ones. So since you brought up the topic of spirits, would you just briefly talk to us about your people's worship? I think it's the
spirits of the past. We hold our ancestors in our heart, a specific ancestor that chooses us when we become of age. And if we are able to throw ourselves into our craft, the actual ancestor is able to come forward and live through us again. It is one of the greatest feelings in the world when your ancestor takes you in their heart and fills you completely.
Well, that's really interesting. Now it's very different from the elves of the southern part of Arenal, where, with the Undying Court, and they also have the ancestor worship of the...
Their ancestor worship is not quite as pure as ours, and they do not actually allow their ancestors to pass on. They're locked within stones. It's very misguided, but I cannot fault them for their own beliefs. Everyone is entitled to do what they will, whether it is misbegotten or not.
I think that is a rather insightful take. I've always felt that the Deathless were reminiscent of a lot of the necromantic worships of Karnath in particular.
Well, it's actually exactly opposite from Karnath.
I know that technically they're not dead, but they've always felt
but
they feel dead.
It's literally the opposite. What's the ceremony like when you decide which patron you're gonna follow?
Did you decide the color of your skin when you were born?
No.
And your eyes, how far they see? Did you get to decide that? And what is your affinity that you enjoy? What do you enjoy every day? Talking to me and asking me a million questions that have actually nothing to do with anything that we're having to deal with in a day-to-day life?
You know what?
Is that what you enjoy?
She's absolutely right, Alufi. She didn't get to pick. It was her charming personality that helped her ancestor decide to choose her.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. How do you view Erenal now that you're no longer there? Do you have an affinity for it? Do you long to go back someday?
No, I'm quite happy with traveling and proving myself with what I'm working at every day, trying to improve my marksmanship, finding adventures, fighting foes. It would be nice to actually...
Well, that is interesting. I'm sure that you'll have a lot of fun finding glory here by cutting down Talenta halflings and war partying.
Sylas.
No,
Sylas.
they're running amok.
So Bale, tell us a little bit about your patron. You said that they're marksmen.
Arisus was known for being able to shoot an arrow so far into the sky that it could touch the sun. It's one of the
Oh, that's pretty cool. Honestly, that's like really pretty cool, powerful. Can you do that?
with an axe. I've been working on it, but I am not yet there. I can only merely take from the base of a mountain to its tallest tree. I can cut its top off. I have not yet been able to reach the sun, unfortunately. It is one of my goals in life.
So you throw axes, you don't do like a bow and arrow. So there are a lot of things that people around Sharn say about your people. You know.
I don't think that's true. No one mentions the Therendor. Valenar and elves in particular, they will mention, but I didn't even know they were a thing for a while.
They'll say things like you're bloodthirsty, but also that your people are bound by like a really strict code of honor. A lot of people think that you all ride horses. Other people say stuff like,
It's truly about the individual. It's not about the whole. All Tyranidols are not the same. Just like all ancestors are different, each Tyranidol is different. We all have our own specific goals, achievements, wishes, and dreams. It has nothing to do with us as a group of people. Why would we want to be lumped together all the same, like some gray sheep?
so you think that the biggest misconception is that all of your clans are exactly the same, all of your people are exactly the same, whereas much like the Talenta halflings and other groups like the more dwarves, you are actually very multicultural and a tapestry of beautifully different woven fabric.
I mean, we have gone through centuries. It would be only natural for us to find independence within each other and outside of each other.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, Bale Aresis, I want to thank you for joining us today and talking to us a little bit about your culture and, what your people are like and things like that. Now, my final and closing question is going to be, how can outsiders, people like Sylas and myself, kind of interact with you and your culture in a way that you would see positive?
I think it's always a good to put our skills to our test. Um, Comparing shots, having a good brawl, going on a conquest together. That's sometimes fun.
Well, I think that perhaps we'll have to invite you to come and participate this year in the Race of the Eight Winds. Maybe we should see if we can get a Valenar rider somehow involved in the mix, just to see how good Valenar is at winning races and riding.
I don't think that Valenar horses can fly.
I'm sure we could work up something.
Cool. Well, thank you again, Vale. And for everybody listening, let this just be a little lesson to keep an ear out for those echoes of hope.
But when do we fight?